our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two first bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first, FirstBank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two first bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first, FirstBank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two first bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first, FirstBank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two first bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first, FirstBank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprise.
Sorry, Mariah, you're muted. Oh, apologies. Good morning once again. Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the muted, that I was muted. Welcome to this webinar. I'm delighted to have you join us today. And I'd like to start this webinar by sharing a quote from Walt Disney, which says that time and conditions change so rapidly that we must keep our aim constantly focused on the future. You all will agree with me that 2020 has been a most unprecedented year, and the changes that we have seen and have witnessed have been sudden, unexpected, and certainly unplanned. But as Alan Watts said, and I quote, that the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, to move with it, and to join the dance. Therefore, today's webinar is all about acknowledging the change and then we're planning, re-strategizing, reassessing, recalibrating, and then rebounding as we move forward to pursuing our business goals and objectives. Today, I am joined by seasoned professionals who have been around and know their onions. I'm glad to welcome, please join me as I welcome our panelists today, Mr. Tunde Owolabi. You're muted, sir.
Thank you, Morayo. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Also on the panel today is the MD CEO of FBN Insurance, Mr. Olumide Ibidapo. Good morning and thank you for joining us today, sir.
Good morning, Morayo. Good morning, Hall. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And last but not the least is the delectable Mrs. Ijoma Agbote. She's the MD FBN Trustees Fund. Thank you for joining us today, ma'am. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Morayo. And thank you, everyone. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me. Sorry, FBNQuest funds. Huh?
Thank you. So without wasting much time, we'll dive right into it. But I'd like to read out the profile of my panelists today, so you are assured beyond a doubt that today is going to be all about learning. We are going to get insights and understand how it is we can go about rebuilding our businesses. As a bank that is entrenched into the fabric of the society, we care about you. We've been here and we understand your business. And not only have we been here, we are also your bank for the future. And so we are handholding you as we enable you to the future. Please join me as I read the profile for our panelists. And I'll take Mr. Tunde Owolabi first. Tunde Owolabi is currently the Group Executive, Retail Banking Group Lagos and West of FirstBank of Nigeria Limited. He has over 28 years work experience spanning audit, consulting, and banking. Until his appointment, Tunde served as the Regional Head, Retail Banking, Lagos and West Region, with oversight responsibility for the entire SBU. He was part of the retail project team that crafted the retail strategy for FirstBank when the business teams were restructured in 2010 and has been in the retail banking strategic business unit since then. He has cross-functional exposure within the banking industry in the areas of financial control, operations and relationship management in corporate, commercial, and retail banking at senior management levels. Tunde obtained a BSc degree from the University of Ife and a master's degree in business administration from the University of Lagos. He's a fellow of both the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, FCA, and the Chartered Institute of Taxation, a full member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, and an honorary member of the Chartered Institute of Bankers. He's an alumnus of the Lagos Business School and has attended many professional development courses globally. You are welcome again, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm delighted to have you.
Thank you, Morayo.
Next up is Mr. Olumide Ibidapo. Mr. Olumide Ibidapo is the Managing Director, CEO of Insurance, practitioner who started his career in 1990 and joined FBN Insurance Brokers in 2006. He holds a bachelor's degree in sociology and a master's degree in business administration. Olumide has over 30 years industry experience in insurance and risk management and has established a reputation as an incisive professional with expertise in the areas of commercial insurance program structuring, special risk portfolio handling, and claims management. He is an associate member of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria, CIIN, and CRIB. You are welcome again, sir. We are so delighted to have you.
Thank you, Morayo. Good morning, all. Thank you.
Mrs. Ijoma Agboti is a managing director of FBNQuest Funds. She has over 20 years experience in global investments with a focus on private equity, venture capital, and other alternative investment strategies. She has an extensive background across 4 continents, advising institutional investors on private equity strategies, allocations, and investments. Prior to joining FBNQuest Funds, she was head of the Abra Group's investors coverage and corporate business development activities for Africa, and also ran her own alternative investment consultancy, OAI Alternative Investments. She previously spent 13 years at JP Morgan Chase & Co., specifically with the JP Morgan Asset Management Private Equity Group in both New York and London. There, she led the group's business development activities in EMEA, performing broad functions across PEVC, investment selection, portfolio management, investor relations, and product development. She was a member of the group's investment committee. She has a BSc from the University of Lagos, CSS from Harvard University, and an MBA from INSEAD. You are so welcome, Mrs. Agboti. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you so much, Mariah. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so for our participants, I'd like for you to please grab your notepads because this is going to be an extensive session where you would gain insights. It will be a lot of lessons shared. And also, please share your questions with us in the Q&A section. If you check on your screen, you find the Q&A button. Right about now, Mr. Olabi will be coming up with his presentation. It will take us through rebuilding business from the angle of the SME. He's an SME man here. He's been doing it for several years. I'm also opportunity to have worked under his tutelage for about eight years of my career. And I'm excited to have him on this panel this morning. Mr. Olabi, over to you, sir, as we take your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mariah. And good morning once again, everyone. Mariah, I hope my slide is on up there.
Yes, we can see your slide now, sir. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning again, everyone. As usual, we do this from time to time to connect with our customers. We want to ensure that we keep talking to our customers and point them in the right direction, just to make sure that we ensure that they get the best from the bank, and we ensure that we also encourage them to go through the kind of tough time that we're going through now. So today we'll be talking about rebuilding business. Again, you ask yourself, what's this rebuilding? And what we have in mind at this point is not necessarily businesses that have crashed. We're also talking about businesses that have not done so well in year 2020. You will agree with me that it's been a very special year, just like Morayo had said. So I'll start by looking at this year, 2020, and some of the events that have happened this year. I recall the year 2020 was a year we were all looking forward to, promised to be an exciting year. Unfortunately, it started very slowly. As usual, you know, the year will start slowly, we'll be looking at budget and all that, but it was a different year, 2020. We were beginning to hear hints of coronavirus by January, February, happening in some other places. Unfortunately for us, in the month of February, March, we had a case reported in Nigeria also. So it wasn't just about outside Nigeria, it hit us here live. And if you recall, by late March, it had gotten to a point where we were locked down. Let me put it that way. There was a federal government announcement of 2 weeks lockdown in Lagos and Ogun states and Abuja. And then a lot of states were very unsure of what their positions were. So it presented a different scenario for us. I mean, early in the year, with so much plans, so much expectations for the year, and we found ourselves in a lockdown by March. So there was so much shock within the system. A lot of readjustment had to be made in the way businesses were being run. Total lockdown means you won't go to the office, means your shop will not open, means your offices will be closed. What do we do with staff? How do we sell? What do we do? So in the first 2 weeks, there was so much confusion and nobody was really doing anything. I recall very well. Even as FirstBank, as a big organization, we had to start a crisis management meeting on a daily basis to ensure that we are ahead of the time. So difficult financial and personnel decisions had to be taken. Who works from home? Who goes to work? What are the critical functions that need to be at work? For us as a bank, we needed our channels to be up. So that means some people must be behind the scene to be working, while others who don't need to be in the office can stay at home. About July, getting into August, we had a bit of respite. So we said, oh, thank God, this is going down. Businesses were opened gradually. Again, don't forget, between March and July, we had lost like 4 months. Going into August, another month, making 5. And becoming tough, 5 out of 8 months lockdown, so to speak. But again, when we thought we had that respite, there was NSAS protest. NSAS, NSWAT, whichever way you want to look at it. Again, we just couldn't move the way we expect that we're going to move. It was really taking a toll on small businesses, which for us as FirstBank are always babies that we look after. We want to ensure that they succeed, but again, how do we ensure that they're doing so well? So even during this period, we kept in touch with our customers via the relationship managers to ensure that we keep talking to them. What are you thinking? What are you doing? How is this affecting you? And all of that. But at the end of all of this, by the time we got into September, even looking into October, discussions had changed from, oh, it's not even about making profit this year. It's even about survival. Like somebody said, the most important success that we need to make this year is even survival, either as individual or as businesses. It's not about so much profit, but again, it is always an opportunity to sit back and say, what business model am I even running? Is it sustainable if there's another wave of crisis in the year? So these are the kind of events that we saw in 2020 that made the 2020 that we had so much hope in change into something else. So I'll take these tips I want to discuss with you in about 5 verticals. We'll look at how do you assess the financial damage that has been caused by this crisis in the year 2020? What do you need to look at pointedly in your business plan to ensure that you are on track? Of course, you need to look at available funding to your business so that if the business needs some capital to be injected into it, or some working capital that will run the operations of the business, we will look at where we can be pointed to. Then, more importantly, should there be a crisis again, what are the business continuity plan that we need to be looking at? And then we create a realistic timeline within which we will achieve all of the plans that we've had for ourselves to ensure there's a smooth running business that can be resilient and withstand the test of another crisis going forward. Okay, in assessing the financial damage, we need to look at the implications of the damage of the damage the crisis has caused on our business. If you look at where you were last year, in the 9 months of last year, the business will say, by this time last year, I've made X amount of naira. But this year, this is where I am. Again, it is obvious from what has happened that people will not have achieved what they had planned for this year because nobody saw it coming. So if you look at year-on-year figures, you will see that a lot of dent has been created in the businesses that were run. I mean, I have not seen any of my customers that said, oh, this year has been very good for me. Yes, there have been some opportunities here and there, but again, it's not the same way it was last year that we had this year. So you need to look at those year-on-year figures. We need to look at the implications of the fixed cost that we run. I run a shop in a complex where ShopRite is located. And some guys have come there, they burnt the whole place down. I have paid rent. I'm not sure the landlord is going to return my rent to me, so it becomes a sunk cost. What do I do to recoup some of these lost fixed costs that I have? What's the impact of this on my human resources? I know somebody who runs a cottage business, and I mean, just making fruits and making some other small consumable things. And she's like, do I need to pay my workers? They've not done anything. And the workers are saying, all of these are not my fault. So what's the impact on human resources? We need to look at it. What are the customers' reaction to the happenings? Obviously, because of the coronavirus, tastes have changed, choices have changed. Disposable income is not at the level at which they were. So there are things I don't want to buy. And I'll give an example. I mean, there were no parties in Nigeria. You know us for parties. And it's a big industry when you come to entertainment industry with different parts of it. Event centers were closed. People were losing money. Some people had taken loans to build an event center because of the kind of returns that you were seeing there. But tastes have changed. Choices have changed. People could no longer do parties. So if I were somebody who sells lace materials, for instance, because we have some customers, it's not going to be the same thing I mean, from the beginning of this year to date. So how do I react to that? I've lost so much money on my sales. So obviously my turnover this year will be less than what it was last year. So I need to assess all of those damages that the crisis has done. Again, we don't operate in isolation. Who are those that are doing my kind of business? How are they reacting to this? What kind of losses have they suffered? Is it a locational issue? Again, we read in the NSAS protests, and we saw how shops were looted and burnt in Surulere. So maybe if my shop was not on Bode Thomas, if it was in Oniru, would I have been better off? So these are some of the things that we need to assess in the course of looking at what we need to do to rebuild our businesses. It might be a complete change of strategy. Again, when you say strategy, is not only the big organizations that need to have a sophisticated strategy. It doesn't have to be a sophisticated booklet that you need to. But again, every business has its own strategies, no matter how small, that guides the business. So these are some of the things that we need to look at this point in time. Otherwise, if there's another wave of crisis, we God forbid, one will have to go through that same process again without really having learned anything in the business. So having assessed the financial damage that this has done, then we look at the business plan that we run. We need to look at it again. What's my modus operandi? What's my mode of operations of my business? Is it sustainable in the wave of another crisis? When we talk to customers and we talk about this business plan, everybody thinks, you know, what am I selling? What do we do? But one of the things that we have perfected ourselves in doing, especially in retail banking arm of FirstBank, is to talk you through how a business plan can help you. I mean, they often say that if you fail to plan, that means you're planning to fail. So you look at that business plan again and say, what do I need to tweak in this my business plan? How has this year affected my business? And then the sector that I operate in general. If my sector is worst hit and I do not see recovery being a reasonable and foreseeable future, what do I do? Am I going to change the kind of business I do? Or are there things that I can put in place to ensure that these business plans work well? And I'm asking these questions because individual business plans differ. And depending on the sector that I operate in, my plans will be different. Again, I'm looking at the small businesses, the medium enterprises, who cannot afford to face these times the way they would have loved to. So you need to continually think of how to get out of the way the crisis has affected your business. What are the current realities that I have right now, and how do they relate to my business? Those current realities are the things that will shape in those things that I need to change in my business plan in order to ensure that I can sustain the business that I'm running and I can stand the test of time should there be any wave of shock. What are the shock absorbers that I have in the businesses that I do? You need to think them out. You need to think them out. These are the questions we will also want to know. How are you planning to face the new normal that we have? How will your plan fit into that new normal? So for me as a lender, when I sit with you and I'm trying to find out about your business plan, these are the things that I'm going to be asking in order to know the kind of funding structure that will fit your kind of business. How digital ready are you? How digital ready is your business? Everybody is going towards the digital space now. Is it applicable to my business? The answer is yes. The digital space is applicable to every business. It depends on how you're looking at it. So all kind of channels, all kind of products are being put forward by the very big banks, by my colleagues in the investment arm, by even the fintechs. So there's a lot of collaboration among organizations to say, how do we try to make businesses digital ready so that they will be able to move forward in what they do? What are the digital opportunities that are available? We need to find out. We need to look at, for us as a bank, like I said, we have all sorts of channels that doesn't even require you're moving all over the place. We can communicate with you at every point in time. You can take advantage of any of our touch points in doing your business, without even leaving the comfort of your office or your home, as it were. So those digital opportunities are available, and then you only need to get yourself acquainted with them. Again, like I said before, competition is there. You also need to put an eye on what others are doing so that you're not left behind, especially in your kind of business. If there are opportunities that have been identified in your sector, then you need to take advantage of them. Again, it will require your talking to your bankers, talking to your suppliers, talking to every stakeholders in your business to ensure that you appraise yourself with the opportunities that are available. And again, if what you see in your business is such that it's an industry or a sector that may not recover for some time to come, you might begin to think of opportunities in other sectors. So having looked at your, having assessed your financial damage and looked at your business plan and reviewed your plans based on these questions, the next thing you begin to look at is, do I need some funding? And I know funding is always very interesting to SMEs in this part of the world. But I keep telling people, it's not just about funding. I mean, we've had cause to see customers who get the appropriate funding they want at the particular time that they needed it. However, because of lack of proper planning, I mean, a lot of shocks have come into their businesses, and even the funding had filtered away. And then you begin to talk of bad loans, you begin to talk of bad business. And so you need to really be ready with what you want to do before you approach any funding organization to come into your business. Because there are questions that will be asked. And the questions that are going to be asked are these kind of questions that I'm asking here. For us to be sure that we're ready. For us as lenders, it's not about the business risk that we will take. We will take the finance risk with you, but we must be sure that your business risks have been properly appraised and that we will be going the whole journey with you, making sure that nothing goes wrong along the way. For me as a lender, what do I look out for? It is just to be sure that everything that needs to be taken into consideration, you have taken them into consideration. So sometimes when you see people get to the point of a bad loan, then you ask yourself, were there things I was supposed to do that I did not do? If the question is yes, then you feel bad. If the answer is yes, then you feel bad. But if the answer is no, then the next thing is, how do I switch? How do I switch? How do I ensure that I come up with a remedial plan to ensure that my business is put back on track? Again, as a financier, at that point in time, I'll also ask myself those questions. Were there questions I needed to ask that I didn't ask? If the answer is yes, then it's a different story. But if the answer is no, then we begin to switch to remedial and recovery mode. That's how it works. So the business plan is very, very important, and we must ensure that we have that in place. So talking about funding, we also need to, at every point in time, ensure that you understand and know the various funding opportunities available for your type of business. What's the level of the business that I do now? What kind of funding is available? Governments have been coming up with so much funding opportunities. CBN has a lot of them. So you need to understand. And how do you do this? By constantly talking to your bankers. We take pride in hand-holding SMEs. That's why we have relationship managers for them. So if you have your share of mind, when you're thinking of something, you let us know. And then we'll tell you, these are the opportunities that are available. The terms and conditions for such available fund must also suit the business that you run at this point in time. There's no point going to take some kind of funding that would ground the business. There are all sorts of terms and conditions available. But I bet you, if you review all of those things, there are some that are specifically designed to your kind of business. You will see that I'm talking business generally because I'm looking at SMEs in Nigeria, they cut across different sectors. There's health, there's education, there are contractors, and there are all sorts of people. So the government intervention funds that are available are also targeted at different sectors. Again, if you want to avail yourself the opportunities of getting some of these funds, you must be ready for them. We would take you through the journey. We will also tell you the kind of risks that we're seeing. We will tell you how we think they should be mitigated. And then together we will go through the journey. Some of these intervention funds that you've seen, many businessmen make the mistake of just looking at the interest rate. It's not just about the interest rate. No matter how small the interest rate is, if the plan is not proper, if you don't apply yourself to the business in such a way that you review it from time to time to ensure that you're on track, I mean, you still can make the wrong decisions. So those various intervention funds are available through the CBN. They are subject to the risk acceptance criteria of the banks because we still have to manage those risks on behalf of CBN cannot manage those risks. So if I fund you, I want to see your distribution model. I want to see your branches. I want to see your sales model. I want to see your supplier model and all of those things. But there are things that we can sit and discuss, even in simple terms. So don't think that we're looking at something that is very sophisticated. We are able, as relationship managers over the years, to rebuild some of this information that we get and put it in a format that will make it bankable for you. Talking about various funds also, I talked about governments coming up with all sorts of funding. I'm sure most of you would have read about the Lagos State Educational Trust Fund, where we partnered with them and put some funds behind it. And low-cost private schools can access funds between 500,000 and 5 million. Of course, there are terms and conditions for it. But again, this is funding at about 9%. It's not about the 9%, but again, how do you ensure that you make your school attractive so that students can come? If you do not have students, you're not going to make the cash flows that we'll be looking for, even to take a loan. So those are the kind of things that are available. And we are the ones that will be in the forefront of advising you and collating whatever it is you want, and then making you access some of these funds. So funds from CBN, funds from various governments is not just about Lagos State. And this one I've talked about is just one sector that Lagos State is into. Again, we know that in the country, we need to rebuild our education sector. That's why you see schools all over the place, and schools are in different categories. And we also recognize the fact that schools are very important for us in this country. As a matter of fact, we have products that are targeted towards schools. We have various facilities also that can be accessed. I mean, for timing, I won't be able to go through all of those things. But depending on the sector that you operate in, various products. Our first aid is targeted at schools. Our key distributorship finance is targeted at people who are distributors of FMCGs, of fast-moving consumer goods, as it is called. And they are distributors to the very high-end companies, the Nestle, the Nigerian breweries, the Lafarge, the Dangote Cement, and all of that. We have tailor-made products for them that will suit your business. We have the cement distributorship finance. Again, we brought that out of the key distributorship finance so that we can be specific at people that are cement distributors. We have telecom distributorship finance so that we can be specific at those that are distributors to the telecom companies. We have secured OD. I mean, there are lots of them. What I'm going to do is to just show you some of these flyers, just to let you know that you can come into any of our business centers, locations, any of our touch points, and you can get to know this product. They're available for you as contractors, as traders.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. I go through just
okay, thank you so much. One more. Okay. You have a product slide you want to go through. Okay, so I believe that during the Q&A, you may be able to refer to the product slides, you know, in answer to some of the questions that will come up. Thank you so very much, sir. I hope our participants were taking notes, because I have my notes full. He's spoken extensively on assessing the damage that has happened. Where are you? Taking stock of your position. Do you have a business continuity plan in place? What's your plan to go forward? Where are you to determine where you want to go to? Do you have a plan? Because without a plan, you really cannot even move forward. He also spoke about, you know, understanding the sector that you're working in. What is the impact of COVID on your sector? Because of course the impact is not the same across all sectors. What's the impact of the unrest and the things that we have witnessed this year on your own specific sector where you're operating from? How does digital marketing support your business, and all of these things that you have spoken about? Without taking much time, because we need to really get into the Q&A, I'm sure I can see questions popping up in the Q&A section, and we will get to attend to all of them. But let's quickly take on Mr. Ibitakpo, because it's coming from the insurance aspect, you know, because in this part of the world, how does insurance really help to support business growth and ensure that, you know, people can rebound and have a sustainable business? Over to you, sir. We'll take you in 15 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Ibitakpo.
Thank you, and good morning, all. And I'll quickly share my screen. Just give me a couple of seconds to do that. hope my screen is on now.
Yes, we can see your screen, sir.
Good. Good morning, all, and I welcome you to this special webinar, specially designed for our small business owners. And like Tunde rightly pointed out in his presentation, this year had been a very challenging one. I would say it's an eventful year, a twin event year. We started with COVID-19 pandemic and NSAS event added to the interesting scenario that we have witnessed this year. So my own presentation will be looking at rebuilding your business from the insurance perspective. And it's a common knowledge that risk is part and parcel of our daily existence. If we are not ready to take some risk, the tendency is that we won't be able to achieve our overall target. So risk is all with us, constantly with us, but the beauty of it is that we need to manage the risk that we face on our day-to-day basis, either as individuals or as a business. What are the risk management techniques that as a business or even individual we can adopt in our existence, in our day-to-day business operations? And as business owners and operators, there are various means of managing our risk. The first one, which is less desirable, is avoidance. Even though it looks comforting to avoid risk or eliminate or withdraw completely, well, if we should toe this line as business owners, that means there won't be any profit coming in because we are not going to take any action, we are not going to take any risk. So avoidance is one of the risk management technique, but is the less preferable one. The next technique that is meaningful and useful as business owner is to explore how do we reduce the risk that my business is exposed to. We all know that a typical business is exposed to varying types of risk: fire, theft, fraudulent act of employees, etc. But since we know that these are daily occurrences that we need to live with, the next line of thought should be, how well do I mitigate this risk? For example, I know my business is exposed to fire risk. I need to have fire extinguishers stationed in critical point in my factory and ensure that all electrical appliances are switched off at the end of each working day. And then refuse or waste generated are removed from the premises. These are risk reducing measures that a typical small business owners can put in place. Then the third approach is, which is preferable, so that as business owners, we can concentrate on our own primary operations, business operation, is to transfer some of this risk to a third party. This third party called insurance companies. They are the one that will bear this risk and provide financial cushion in the event of an insured event happening, like we've witnessed in some recent past. So risk transfer is the most preferred to business owners. You will transfer this risk that your operations are exposed to, and then you can concentrate on your core business operations. Retention is the fourth approach on risk management techniques, whereby you look at your risk exposures and you decide to retain some of it. You make provision for it and set aside the fund. But the side effect of this is that you cannot really predict the magnitude of the impact or the severity of a loss occurring. So the fund set aside might not even be enough to meet up with the losses or damages that the business will encounter if this event should happen. So that's why we are saying that insurance or risk transfer technique seems the best option for a typical business owner. Now, for SMEs and small business owners, we've identified the key asset, basically your physical asset and your workforce. These are the key assets that you have, and all these are prone to one form of loss or damage or the other. Now, I'd like to talk a bit about the typical risk exposures that small businesses are exposed to. Natural catastrophes, we witnessed it all over recently during the rainy season, flood, water damage. We are not prone to earthquake, thank God for that. But there are so many natural catastrophes, strong wind that could blow off the rooftop of our factories or our warehouses, water damage to our stock. These are part of natural catastrophe that we face on a day-to-day basis. Then fire, theft, and accident. These are common occurrence in our business operations, loss of money during armed robbery, or even damage to finished products, either by fire or whilst in transit. We have road accident affecting our delivery vans, and industrial accident to the staff, either loss of one finger or loss of eye. Then riot and civil unrest. This is something that is still on top of our mind in the country, emanating from the recent occurrences that we experienced, leading to looting, property damage resulting from these civil disturbances. Then there are emerging risks, even though we look at our operations as being small, but they will grow. Definitely our businesses, the plan is to grow them. And by the time we are coming up as big operators, there's risk of political violence, terrorism, cybercrime. And like today mentioned, digital is the way that the future of business is trending now. So there are this risk of cyber attacks and things like that happening. Staff-related risk, one is sure that sales proceeds are being diverted by some fraudulent staff, and these are staff-related risks. Government policies, lockdown, we experience lockdown, there are curfews, confiscation, seizures, and these are typical risk exposures that our businesses are exposed to. But the beauty of it is that majority of these risks, there are insurance products that could mitigate and provide financial cushion if some of these insured perils or events should happen. And I wouldn't want to go through all of them, but they are self-explanatory. In as much as you have the right insurance contract in place, anytime that any of these insured event should occur, you can be rest assured that there's a party, the insurance company, using your professional advisor to drive it to provide financial cushion for you. So rather than starting from ground zero in the event of a loss or damage, there's always that cushion to prop you up and rebuild your business. Now, as brokers, as FBN insurance brokers, we are advisors, we are risk advisors, and our typical role that we provide, we identify your risk identity, we identify the risk that your operations are exposed to. We advise on the type of insurance coverages that your businesses will require, appropriate coverages, and we obtain competitive terms on your behalf. And we place this risk with the right underwriters so that at the end of the day, the reason why you are buying insurance is in the event of a claim. What if the event insured against you actually happen? We are there to provide claim support services. And the beauty of it is that these services, this advisory role that we are going to be providing for your operations comes at no extra cost to you. So we are part of FBN Holdings, and the company is 20 years. We have branches in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and we have our headquarters in Lagos. So we are always there to provide support whenever it's required. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibidapo. Thank you for that insightful session. So now our participants know that, insurance is indeed a cushion, for all the risk that occur or that are present in their businesses. So as long as we take the right insurance and come to you, we can mitigate all the risks that are present in our businesses. Thank you so very much. Critical points to note, is that there are different ways that we can mitigate our risk, and risk is a part of life, it's a part of our everyday life and part of our businesses. So either avoid it, or you transfer it, or you mitigate it, and they are there to help us take away the risk for our businesses. So I'm sure we have our questions. Please keep the questions coming. I can see the Q&A section buzzing. We'll get to the questions shortly. Without wasting more time, we are going straight away to Mrs. Ijoma Agbote. Please take us through your presentation, Ma, before we come for the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morayo. I'm just going to share my screen now. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so good morning again, everyone, and thank you for joining. You know, I must commend everyone who has made time to join this call. I know that this has been a tough year for many businesses. So if you are running a small business, inevitably you've suffered something difficult this year. I think we all have. So I just wanted to, you know, applaud you for still standing and still looking for ways that you can improve and grow your businesses. So hopefully our presentations today will be worthwhile to you. So just wanted to commend you on that. So rebuilding your businesses for micro, small, and medium enterprises. I'll just jump right in. I thought I'd start with a very brief description of FBNQuest Funds as a business. FBNQuest Funds is the alternative investment arm under FBNQuest, which is the merchant banking and investment management business under FBN Holdings. We have been investing in alternative investment strategies for 17 years as a business. We've invested in over 70 private companies, in excess of 20 billion naira across those companies. A little bit more here about our background. We generally invest, you know, equity, mezzanine, and private credit into medium-sized businesses. We help the businesses grow. We provide operating support, technical assistance. We sit on the boards. We advise and assist the businesses to grow on behalf of our underlying investors. And a little bit more about us here that I'm sure you can go through once you have the slides. So moving on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about how COVID has impacted the Nigerian MSME business or industry. I think it's no secret to anyone on this call if you're running such a business. You know, first of all, it's important to really underscore the criticality of the small and medium-sized business industry in Nigeria. I mean, if you look at the CAC, we have over 3 million or so registered businesses in Nigeria. Perhaps about 170 or so of them are listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So that leaves really almost all of those 3 million businesses as private standalone businesses, many of them small, many of them medium-sized. They provide jobs. They provide services, they provide goods to our economy. They're a large portion of our overall GDP. So upholding these companies and keeping them strong and starting new ones and supporting those new ones, I think is a critical imperative for any of us who operate on the financial services side and on the advisory side in our economy. So it's really quite a critical segment of the Nigerian market. So a critical growth driver, I think the stats are here, about 50% of our GDP. So needless to say, the pandemic this year and the consequent lockdown, followed by, you know, protests in our market, which were very positive, but turned ugly for obvious reasons. All of these things caused quite, you know, massive shocks to various businesses in our economy this year. It has had an impact on health. I'm sure almost everyone on this call knows of someone or more who lost their life this year, knows of people whose health has been impacted by the pandemic, and even just the follow-on effects of the pandemic and what that has done for people's health and livelihoods and the like. So going through these very quickly, I mean, our workforces has suffered, right? You know, many people lost their jobs this year. Many businesses were unable to pay their staff. Some had to, you know, cut salaries. Some had to let staff go entirely, as we've spoken about. extensive emotional and psychological strain to many individuals, which we often overlook in this market, but certainly shouldn't. Finance and liquidity. I mean, needless to say, cash flows have suffered across businesses. Many businesses have been unable to meet their obligations, both operationally and financially, and it has caused ruin to many businesses in our economy. And for reasons we spoke about up top, that's a detriment to our overall economy. Revenue shortfalls because folks were just not buying or using services the way we have done in previous years. Operations of businesses suffered. No secret to anyone running a business on this call. Supply chain challenges, customers moving to other platforms that have been able to adapt a little bit better to the shocks of this year, maybe because they're larger. Also financial burden from underutilizing factory capacity and other capacities, lack of adequate access to some of the intervention programs and other forms of support that have been made available in the course of the year. And just general business sentiment. I mean, a lot of folks have had their spirits dampened. A lot of the initial euphoria and motivation that drove individuals to start businesses probably really took a beating this year and started to wane when they started to see how quickly cash flows can dry out and sentiments can dry out and customers can go away. And there's probably this feeling that one can never get that back, which is certainly not true. Moving on to the next slide. So what do we do? What is the response to COVID-19 for our small businesses? Now, of course, this is a very simplified slide. It varies widely across industry and type of business and size of business and stage of business. But generally speaking, I think some of these are quite obvious. I mean, there are ways that we can leverage technology. Some firms are very small and probably don't think technology interventions are really for them. But when we talk about leveraging technology, we're speaking of things as simple as beefing up your social media presence. It doesn't have to be that you do this massive technological rollout that certainly isn't affordable to many businesses. So certainly, leverage technology, beef up your social media presence. I think it was Tunde that mentioned earlier, yes, we are certainly an economy of people who enjoy events and celebrations, and what do businesses like that do at a time when we are all under quarantine or lockdown? I think there were a few events businesses that decided to do, to sort of package in a box their celebratory offerings. So they'll send the Ashrabu to your house. They'll send the food and drinks and small chops and all that to your house. You just have to adapt and find new ways that you can continue to grow your business and even run your business. Seek new opportunities. The early stages of the initial lockdown, we saw a number of businesses actually transforming their operation to be able to accommodate some of the much needed capacity to produce materials that we really needed, like masks, like materials that can be used in hospitals, medicines, cleaning supplies, all the types of things we needed. So if you have a way of adapting your business somewhat to suit the times temporarily, it's certainly not a permanent solution, but it's certainly a good idea to try the opportunity of evolving your business model a little bit on a temporary basis. And it also puts you in a position where you can better prepare for these types of unpredictable events, which will come up a number of times in a company's life cycle. And certainly on the final slide next, I'll take you through a few intervention programs and other resources that have been provided by banks, by government, and by other support providers who are very awake to some of the struggles of SMEs in this pandemic and subsequent crises. Develop skills and capabilities. I mean, it is said that you should never waste a good crisis, and it's true. We all have our business continuity drills and plans, and it's all on paper. And, thank God we seldom really have to utilize some of those drills and preparations that we have in place. When things do go bad, like they have with many businesses this year, it's really an opportunity to show your own resilience as a business and your ability to adapt and be resilient. So certainly use the opportunity to continue to prepare for these unexpecteds, to diversify your model in such a way that you can absorb some of these shocks, and use it as an opportunity to build up your team and their skills and their capabilities. If business isn't coming, we still have to take care of our people, and that's first and foremost. You don't have a business if you don't have people, so take care of them, help them build and grow and learn. They know it's a crisis just as much as you as the business head knows. It's not a secret to anybody, so use the time wisely. And finally, financial support. Hopefully you've all been on top of grants and funds and different intervention programs that have been rolled out. Of course, many of them are industry specific and business specific, and certainly limited in capacity. But I always tell folks who are seeking advice to just apply. Even if you don't think you're going to get it, just apply, and you can be surprised that you'll have access. Low interest rate loans. I think Tunde talked a little bit about this. And also credit guarantee schemes, schemes that are available to small businesses. So please stay on top of the wires and take advantage of these opportunities. Thank you. I'll stop there for now.
Wow, thank you so very much, Mrs. Agbote. That was so good. I mean, you made so many profound statements that, I have my notes here full. And before we go into the Q&A, I'll just like to do a brief recap. One of the things that she mentioned was that, small businesses need to leverage technology. And a lot of times when we talk about leveraging technology, you think it's the big, infrastructure of technology that you need to set up. Something as little as improving your online presence, it's about just leveraging technology as well. She also said to seek new opportunities, grants that are available, funding that is available for your businesses. And these things are available. I'm sure before we leave, we'll ask more questions on how to access these things. Thank you so very much to our panelists. It's been a time of insights, really. I have my notes full, and I'm sure our participants too have gotten a lot of insights from this session. Without wasting much time, we'll go quickly into the Q&A. We have a lot of questions. And I must say that you would forgive us if we are unable to take all of the questions because there are so many. However, what we'll do is to provide answers to them, and we'll send it to all of you that have registered to attend this webinar. You'll get the answers to some of the questions that we're unable to take here. Okay, so I'd like to start from you, Mrs. Agbote. And there are a couple of questions here, asking, how do I get funding? I'm a tailor, I'm into small business, I'm a startup. I really would like that you, spend more time to explain how to access the grants that are available for these small businesses, especially startups. You come to the bank and it's expected that you have at least you've done 6 months, running your business account. For a startup, how do they access these funds?
Sure, Mariah. So look, it's really about being very diligent. When we enter this type of crisis mode, we need to reprogram our thinking a little bit. It's okay to sort of put the business on pause for a number of months to make sure you ensure that you are stocking up on the capital or support that you need to make sure that the business remains viable. So when I say reprogramming a little bit, you need to be on top of the ball with respect to what sort of intervention programs are out there. Start from Lagos State Government website, start from your banker or your relationship manager, wherever your financing comes from. Hopefully right here at FirstBank, and your relationship manager can guide you in the right direction. I certainly see a lot of those types of offerings and forms flying around on WhatsApp chat groups. Take advantage of that. Your fellow business owners and entrepreneurs who are less competitive and more friendly, you know, certainly talk to them, be a lot more, have a lot more of a community mindset around getting over this crisis. It's not every man for themselves anymore. This is not commercial. This is very much a socio-economic, if you will. So we really have to stand together. The important part is, you know, it's not that hard to find the forms and what the opportunities are. It's actually filling them out and following them through. Some people get stunted with the forms. You just have to follow through and submit, and certainly see what happens. In the meantime, again, talk to your relationship managers about what type of financing opportunities are available to you. Talk to friends and family, be very vocal, come to more forums like this, and organized panels that talk about what opportunities are available to small businesses.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Agboti. Thank you. I'd like to take the next question, and it's for you, sir, Mr. Wolabi. So COVID has introduced a lot of constraints into how businesses are being run, increased costs and possible delays due to the lockdown experience, delivery timelines possibly breached, you know, and a lot of uncertainty with what is likely to happen with delivery. As a bank that is forward thinking, what plans, you know, has the bank put in place, you know, to have loans and facility running, you know, that may not be able to meet up with the timelines of delivery due to, you know, no fault of theirs, the situation that we have found ourselves in? What has the bank put in place? Are there any initiatives that the bank is taking on to support businesses with this peculiar challenge? Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mariah. I'll just refer to the COVID period specifically. You know, we had loans running even before we had the COVID, and I mean, obviously, just like Ijoma said, there's no small business that will not have some losses in this period. And what we had to do at that time was to review some of the terms and conditions. We even needed to restructure some of these facilities. How do you expect a school to repay your facility when the kids are not in school? Obviously, fees will not come. I mean, missed second term, missed third term, and we've had to restructure. We also had to come down on the pricing of the facility. I mean, these are, I don't want to use the word palliatives because of what it connotes at this point in time. But I mean, these were palliatives we needed to just put on the table at that time for businesses to tide over. Okay. You see a business that was doing very well, and then all of a sudden, because of factors that are external to that business, they get themselves into this. I mean, they see themselves in this, and then we needed to just comment. So those are the kind of things that we're looking at. Even contractors who have had to make supplies and supplies are delayed, we had to come to their aid just to ensure. But you know, the risk that you run in such things is the fact that the longer the facilities run for, the more the interest. So what we do is also to look at the interest and then come down on some of those things. Then talking about other businesses, I mean, I was trying to refer to loans specifically. Talking about other businesses, I would encourage people to please take advantage of our SME Connect. It's a forum where you can register as a small business, and I tell you, a lot is happening in that space. You get to learn a lot. Some of the questions I've gone through them, and I see that once you are on this SME Connect forum, you can always get answers to your questions. You'll be pointed in the direction of things that will help you even save cost as much as possible on that channel. So I'll encourage as many people as possible to please get on the SME Connect. We've had to run a lot of seminars on the SME Connect. I will continue to do that just to train people on how to do business. Like I said, it's not just about funding. Efficiency of running your business will also save cost for you. And for me, that's an important forum that you need to join.
Okay. Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you for that apt answer. So another question coming up right for you. On the backdrop of you know, the bank looking at interest rate reduction and the structuring facility and all of that. I have a question here. So it's a tie between FX challenge and interest rates, loan flexibility. So the question says, is it an option to introduce loan flexibility FX challenges? So say for instance, a supplier who has loan running in Naira for a foreign component, because they have to go and source parallel market, of course, and parallel market is fraught with its own risk. You can run into fraudsters, there's a lot of policies coming on from the CBN that is preventing account-to-account transfers, and all of these things are just risks that can possibly crystallize. So the person is asking, what are the options that the bank can suggest or bring up to be able to alleviate these challenges, considering the Naira to FX switch and the risk inherent? Can you please address that, sir?
Okay, thank you. Again, it depends on the structure of the loan that you have. We have some type of facility that will allow you move after some time from FX into Naira. Again, there are some that will require that you just have to pay your supplier in FX. And we all know how possible of FX has affected business these days. Central bank is still the major supplier of dollars in the country. I know some commodity traders can generate also, but again, we know how those pass through the system and the prices that they pass through. So it's essentially a structure of your loan that will determine how your loan moves from there. But of course, it is possible. You might need to discuss with your supplier. You might need to discuss with your principal, and then as a bank, we're just in the middle somewhat. So we will be willing to go along with the Naira is a local currency. If it's more interesting for you to pay in Naira, we're here. So again, because of what we have seen in FX, it is possible. Again, I will encourage that person to please, if you have a specific transaction, move across to one of our business locations and have a discussion on this. And if it is not a transaction that is ongoing, please sit down with us and let's educate you on how you can go about it. And at the point at which you can switch, depending on the transaction that we see you doing.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. I'll come back to you. Let me quickly come to Mr. Ibidapo. Okay, so the first question I have for you, sir. I wanted to insure my business with First Insurance Broker, but the premium given was so high for my business because I just started the business. What do I do? Because I really need to insure my business. So this is somebody reaching out and saying the premium charged was too much. How do I go about it? We're supposed to be friendly. So please give an answer to our participants.
Good question. And well, insurance is about level of information that you're able to provide to the underwriters for them to assess the risk and then put the right price. So what I will advise the respondent or the person asking that questions to do is to engage us further, because he is saying he has already gotten in touch with FBN insurance brokers and the indication is on the high side. Definitely, there are ways of resolving that issue. We need to have more information about his business operations and ensure that the underwriters have a clear understanding of the business operations. Then we can always work towards meeting up with his budget, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. And I hope our participants who posted that question, unfortunately, I couldn't see the name. So I hope you got that right. Please engage again, and I have more discussions, and I'm sure we'll be able to find a solution to that problem. So second question for you, sir. Is there a business insurance that covers damages from riots, acts such as, what was witnessed during the protest, and then the vandalization that ensued afterwards? Is there an insurance that covers that? And then also for people that, for instance, didn't have any insurance and their properties and things were destroyed, what would your advice be for them to, rebound and get back on track with their business?
Well, the first question is civil disturbance riot and
Is
civil
there?
commotion, is there coverage
Yes.
for insurance
Yes,
coverage
sir.
for that? Yes, definitely yes.
Yes.
But you need to do it right. You know, insurance is a contract, and there was
Okay.
always terms and conditions in a contract. But a typical insurance contract, a standard insurance contract, excludes such occurrences like civil commotion, strike and riot. Damages emanating from such event are typically excluded. But when you engage a professional advisor, an insurance broker, to put your insurance portfolio together on your behalf, those clauses, you can buy them back as an extension. So there's coverage for them, but you need to do it right from day one, not at the end of the event and you are bringing up a claim. It won't be covered. But once you have done it right to a professional intermediary, those exclusions will be brought back and they will be covered and claims will be paid for such event. And for those that are not insured and they've sustained losses and or damages, is a tough learning curve. And apart from the facilities that the bank is offering and then the government grants, those are avenues available for them or channels available for them to start rebuilding their business. But going forward, it's better to put that safety valve insurance in place to meet up with future. So you don't need to depend on government. And even if you are going to tap into the government grant, there's always a financial cushion that the insurance company will be offering you to take off after suffering such a major loss. I think it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Mrs. Agwati, let me come back to you again. Mr. Tunde Olabi, I have plenty of questions for you, so please just get ready. So there's a question about designing business continuity plan for small businesses. You know, I mean, I'm sure it's an idea that is alien to a lot of micro and small SMEs. What would you advise? You know, how would you advise that they go about it, putting a BCP in place, such that, I mean, if things like this occur at any time or for any reason, there's a sustainability plan in place for small businesses. I'd like you to speak to that, ma'am.
Sure, Mariah. So it's a very good question and a good thing for all small businesses to be concerned about. Just don't get too bogged down by the term business continuity plan. Sometimes these, acronyms, BCP, that we use in big companies can be rather intimidating if you're running a small company.
True.
If you are a small business, small service business, for example, a business continuity plan can be as simple as, okay, guys, if something happens to our office space, if there's a flood or a fire, how do we keep working? It can be as simple as, are our laptops easy enough to connect from home? Do we have fast enough connectivity, and can we just keep running and servicing our clients while we're at home? Start there. Start very simple. What does it take to just continue to do business if we have a major physical shock to maybe our business location? Or if it's, some sort of financial crisis? Just sit down with your team, open your laptops, ask yourself what your critical enablers are for your everyday business. What's critical? And one by one, ask yourself, what happens if this gets compromised? What happens if number 2 gets compromised? What happens if number 3 gets compromised? Start there. Right. Start with a one-page plan. Use this crisis as your first example of what can happen. Right. What has it taken for you to continue your business? And sorry, Mariah, one more thing I want to point out with respect to business continuity. This crisis, we will not be fighting COVID forever. It is going to go away. But our way of working, the things we've learned about how we work are not changing. We're going through a critical evolutionary period in business models right now, generally speaking. So start to ask yourself, okay, what was maybe wrong with our previous business model? What can we learn from this crisis? Do we need, maybe if you were in Abuja and Lagos, do you need both offices? Just ask yourself what adjustments you can make that can make it easier for you to continue your business without getting so impacted by these types of shocks. It's the ultimate learning.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I like that profound statement that you made, that COVID would go, certainly. It's not here forever. However, the way that we do business has completely been impacted. It's not business as usual because before this year, I mean, who knew that banking could be done from home, that we could, do a lot of things from. So the change has come to stay. So as our panelist has said, please look at your business structure and see what needs to go and what needs to stay. It's about re-strategizing and looking at what's important for your business to continue. Thank you so very much, ma'am, for that profound answer. Okay, so I'm coming back to you, sir, Mr. Olabi. Okay, so this question is a bit funny, but it's not funny. It says, why is it not possible to access facilities with my current account as an individual? I've run the account for so many years. Why do I still need to open a corporate account and run it before accessing any facility? I can see the smile on your face, sir. That's why I said this question is funny.
Assessing business loan, it's obvious and it's regulatory. I mean, you must lend to the business. So again, the questions we'll be asking you will be about the business and all that. So that's why it's usually expected that you run a business account for us to be able to lend to that. So it's not running a savings account or running a personal current account and then we're lending to your business, because even packaging the credit itself has to speak to the business and not your personality. And that's why we have business loans and we have consumer credits. Consumer credits are credits that are targeted at individuals, really. So I'm working somewhere, I want a personal loan. I'm working somewhere, I want a car loan, and I'm going to be able to repay from this, from that, or I want a mortgage or whatever. So, but if you want the money to be used in your business, it must be targeted at that business, because the fundamentals of the business must show the repayment capabilities of that business. So that's the first question, and that probably might just attend to the second one, where he says he's been running his account for so long and he has not been able to access facilities. Is that right?
Access any facility. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that might just. So if you expose your business to us, we must see the fundamentals of that business, and we assess the performance of that business so that we know what we're lending money to. As a lender, you must know what you're putting your money into, and not just anything. Tell me you're doing this, and then we'll put money into it. I've seen quite a number of questions. Like I said, somebody say, I'm growing granite, I'm growing this, I'm growing yam. Then we look at those businesses and say, what is the performance this year? What do we see? How much money do we put into that? So it must be your business that is being appraised, and then money is put into it. That's why. So I advise you, if you're running a business, please run. And not just for now. The business will be able to speak for itself. I think that's part of the problem we also have in this part of the world, when we say SME, they can't access this, they can't access that. Many people cannot differentiate themselves from the business. Some businesses are run from the dining table. You just say, no, I can run from here. I don't need an office. But again, yes, you can cut costs, but there must be some books that are accessible to say, this is where your business is moving towards. This is where you started from. This is how you have grown. This was turnover last year. This is turnover this year. And then it shows that you're making progress. So the business must speak for itself for anybody to come and put loan into it. When you run your business with equity, it's a different story. Nobody's going to ask you questions. But once you begin to introduce debt into it, then it's a different story. You cannot do things your own way. I, as a lender, must also ask you questions because I have a stake in that business.
Yeah, Mariah, sorry, I'd like to pile on to Tunde's answer very briefly, and he's absolutely right.
That's fine. Thank you,
yes, he's very right. It underscores a fundamental problem we have in business ownership and management in Nigeria, is that we don't see the line between the personal and the business, and it is critical. It is critical. Businesses, look at the crisis we've had this year. If your business has suffered a great deal, your children's school fees should not be suffering as well. Keep the two very separate. You can limit your liability to the business, get a solid insurance plan from Olumide and his team, and then continue living your life and thriving with your own personal expenses, and let the business deal with what the business is dealing with. So we must separate the two.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. So please separate the two. Your business entity is separate from your personal entity. Thank you so very much for that profound answer, ma'am. Okay, so I have, there are two questions that I'm going to lump together because they more or less address the same thing. So one from Mr. Kuka Nuruddin Ayodele. It says, I would like to know if there is any available funding for hospitality business. And if yes, how do I access the requirements? The second one that I want you to take together, sir, with that one is that, and this is from Joseph Ekanem. We're a long-standing FirstBank customer. This COVID-19 pandemic has affected driving school business. So I think this person is a driver who runs a driving school business. We are unable to maintain our motor vehicles to train young people who are looking for job. How can FirstBank help us? So these two people are asking what's available for their kind of business. Mr. Kuka is in the hospitality business. Mr. Ekanem is in a driving business, a motoring business. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mariah. As the hospitality business, there are several funds. I've mentioned it. Again, it depends on the level of the hospitality business, and then it is a wide description. Even within the hospitality sector, there are several segments of it. Are you running an hotel? There are several segments. So again, it depends on that segment that you're looking at. It's the fundamental of the business that will speak to us, and then we'll know what we can make available. As I said, what I want people to do is to see their bankers as advisors, financial advisors. So if you go to a doctor, he's not going to tell you what is wrong with you. He's going to ask you questions about how you're feeling. What kind of symptoms do you have? Then he lands at it and says, oh, if these are the symptoms, then this must be the illness that you have. So that's the way we look at funding. You will tell me all of those things that you have, then I'll tell you the appropriate structure for your business. So I don't know what type of, what area of the hospitality business it is. Of course, I saw it when I was looking through the questions. But again, it will be good for you to approach any of our business locations. Again, like I said, if you see in the past few months, even hospitality businesses have been affected. I had a friend who said to me, I just don't know the next time I'm going to sleep on an hotel bed because of the COVID. So you can imagine, so even hotels are affected. So, but again, people are rebuilding, people are coming back to business, people are giving so much confidence, the advertising, the number of times we wash our sheets, what the materials we use to wash our sheets, so that you know that you're sure. So let us have your hospitality business. Please approach any of our business locations as much as possible. I get to hear most of these things, that my RMs are always available. And they also go to ask all the way up advices that they can give to customers. So I can assure you that we are closely working together. You can think that I sit in head office, my branch is in Benin, but I tell you the number of mails I get in one day trying to say, my customer wants this, what do I do? And then we discuss it in so many meetings, and then they get back to you. Then the other person is, I think is Jeka's driving school.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I saw it somewhere in the question. So again, yes. How much do you need to maintain? I see those driving school cars and all of those things. They're not so much to maintain. So let us know what you need. It might even be as much as you want to buy a fairly used car, because I know they don't use a brand new car anyway for driving school. So let us know if you want to buy a fairly used car. Let's know the brand you want to buy. Let's know. We'll just look at all those terms and conditions. If it's a school that is being patronized well, we'll look at your cash flows, because it's about cash flows, and that's one other thing I need to talk about, which is why you must have your books in place. We must see how much of cash is flowing through your business. And because one of the things we've done in retail banking in FirstBank is that we've moved away from the brick and mortar collateral. If we see that your business is moving very well, then we can assess the cash flows that is coming there and then assess your repayment capabilities. And then we'll give you a product that will be available. So gone are the days when you need to say, if I do not have a house, I cannot walk into a bank to take a loan. Our traders in the market are taking loans. We just tailor it towards what you are doing. Do you sell fast-moving consumer goods, in which case, once you are supplied, within the next 60, 90 days, you finish selling. Then we'll look at that cash flow and give you loans to be able to buy more. You scale up. We've had people who have started very small distributors, and they have moved up to super distributors in those companies. So the opportunities are limitless. Ijoma has also said it, the opportunities are limitless. Again, you just need to step forward, be serious, be consistent with what you're doing, have a plan at every point in time. Let us understand the operations that you run. And then at the end of the day, we will advise you on what we can do. So there's nothing that is impossible. As far as we are concerned, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible, but you need to
Thank
keep
you
talking.
so much. Thank you so much for that answer, sir. So we'll just take about 2 more questions. One for Mr. Ibidapo, one for Mr. Olabi, and then I'll take a final question and closing remark from all our panelists because we really are running out of time. To our participants, we can see all your questions. However, like I mentioned earlier, we cannot take all of them because of time constraints. But be assured that we would answer all the questions and make them available on our website or somewhere. We'll get across to you because we registered to attend this webinar, and we'll get the questions answered and come across to you also. My last question for you, Mr. Ibidapo. Look, I have somebody right here saying that one of the reasons why they're not taking up insurance is because they feel or they've had experiences that insurance will not pay, they won't cover when something goes wrong. How can you boost the confidence of our participants so they know that it's not just pay your premium and then insurance is spraying that you just go, something comes up, they're not there, they just have to look for reasons why they would not take the cover. I need you to speak to that and just give our participant that confidence to know that insurance really is one of the things that they can put in place to push in a sustainable business for themselves. In a few minutes, sir, just about 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Morayo. Good question, and that has been the perception and some experiences that some insuring public had passed through in the past. Looking at the insurance industry right now, if you look at the data reflecting the volume of claims that have been paid by the market is huge. It runs into billions. And the assurance I can give to our participants is that insurance works. You just need to do it right. It's a contract. And there are small prints in quote now that a layman or a business owner might not really have that time to be going through line by line to identify what are the exclusions, what do I need to put in place in the event of a claim. And that's why I will be requesting and advising that our participants that are interested in doing their insurances right should approach us for necessary support. And it doesn't increase your cost outlay. It doesn't increase your premium outlay. You get the best coverages at the right price. And that is our own role, a day-to-day support for your insurance portfolio. So allay those fears. Insurance actually works, and you just need to do it right. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir. One last question for you, Mr. Olabi. So I have quite a number of questions on FX-related matters and importation. And so the question is for businesses that deal with importation, sourcing FX has been really difficult because of the policies and then times that we are in. How is the bank, supporting genuine importers who have this need? That we know that there are those that do the arrangements but there are genuine people that depend a lot on importation and require FX for their business to survive. What is the bank doing to support businesses?
Okay, thank you, Morayo. On a lighter note, let me quickly say that the bank does not manufacture FX. So we're still in the business of arbitraging. So we have pool of FX that is customer balances, and the major supplier of FX in the country is still the CBN. So
CBN.
you still have to access CBN through us, and it's not as if we have any control over that. So CBN comes up with a policy and say, I'm bringing to the market this amount of FX, and it's going to be distributed as such. In fact, we've seen CBN tell us the criteria for which customers can access FX. So if you are doing this particular LC, then you'll be given priority. If you are giving that, then you'll be given priority. That's the way it works. So it's not something that we have control over. And what we do is collate your requests and then go to CBN for funding. And then based on the allocation that we get, we pass back to the customer. So it's a difficult time, even in terms of dollar. And it's not rocket science. I mean, if you do not generate as much in FX, where do you get the FX to spend? So, I mean, the country is beginning to look at, okay, how do we look for non-oil exports that will generate enough FX for us and all of those things. That's on one side. On the second side, we have the pool of domiciliary accounts that we can also use. Again, it's about arbitraging. We look at the cost of the domiciliary accounts that we have, and then we look at how much we can give it out to customers. Again, it's a risk within an allowable period for you to use and then to come back. So we do that also. There are several windows that CBN also has that you can go and access. The I&E window, import, export. So you see buyers and sellers coming together on that corridor where you can also go, where you can also try and get your FX from. So those are the kind of things that we try and juggle together. So it's not something that we have absolute control over. Let me put it that way. We don't have absolute control over FX. It's subject to what the country can generate in terms of FX that we're able to give out. So it depends on the kind of industry you operate in, the preference for the economy. You will also see that there is a list of about 41, 42 items that are banned from accessing FX. Again, the CBN tries to see, are these very important items? If they're not, they can take a back seat while we fund things that are very important for us too, such as raw materials, to be able to create things that will add value to the society. So that's the way I would like to put that.
Okay, thank you so very much for your answer. Thank you, sir. So because we are time is fast spent and it's not our friend, I'd like to take last remarks from all my panelists for today. And in your final remarks, I'd like for you to just address, what's the one thing that you believe is critical for a small business, to have in ensuring that they have that sustainability and, they remain nimble and can, what's the word, flexible to be able to sustain themselves through whatever situation that they find themselves in, as we close and bring this to a wrap today. So I'd like for Mrs. Agboti to go first. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Sure, Morayo. Just thank you so much again for having me, and thank you to everyone for taking the time to join this call. My advice would be, don't despair. All companies, even the biggest of them, even the blue chips, the S&P 500, all of them have gone through all kinds of crises, and staying afloat just takes the will, the courage, some smarts, and some good people, and some tenacity. So, my one piece of advice would be, take care of your people, take care of your employees. All of them might not survive. If the company needs to scale down a little bit, don't be shy about that decision, but carry them all along. Let them understand what the company is going through and what impact that has on them. You don't have a company if you don't have people. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. Next up, Mr. Olumide, let's have your closing remarks, sir.
Thank you, Morayo, and I wish to say a thank you for having me, and then to all the participants for being part of this webinar. My own advice is that it has been a tough, challenging environment that we find ourselves, but there is always a safety valve, and that safety valve to ensure that we grow our business and rebuild our business, one of that safety valve is insurance. And the essence of buying insurance is knowing that something could go wrong. But at the end of the day, if something goes wrong and due to one technicalities or the other, you're unable to optimize the returns on your insurance contract, it doesn't deliver value. So my advice is do it right, go through your insurance advisor, and then put a proper portfolio in place for your critical asset. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so much very much, sir. Mr. Olabi, closing remarks from you, sir.
Okay, thank you for having me. This is something that we do from time to time. So, and I know that the audience is going to be comprised of a lot of youths here. Those are the future for the country, and everybody wants to do something for themselves. So I'll advise you that knowledge is key. It's very important. You need to be consistent in whatever it is that you do and learn to do it better. We are here for you. I mean, you see our mantra says that we're woven into the fabric of the society. We're shaping what the market is in this country, and we try to pull people from wherever they are all the way up. And we pride ourselves in businesses saying, this is where I started from and this is where I am with the support of FirstBank. But I dare tell you that what we need is that it must be the right thing to do. And what you need to do with us is just show that consistency, and we'll be right behind you any time of the day. As they say, tough times don't last. It's only tough people that will. So these are some signs of tough times, but we will make sure that once you are consistent and you are focused and you plan yourself properly, after this time, there will be another time. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. So there you have it, our participants, about almost 2 hours, of insights and so much knowledge to share about growing your business and rebounding and getting yourself on track. Please do not forget the things that we have learned today. As a bank, we are here for you. You've heard our speaker say it. There's so many opportunities available for you. Please bring up your cases, bring up your peculiar situations. We would look at it and we will find a solution. Do not forget, carry your people along. Your people are critical to your success. You need a cushion. It's very, very important that you have your insurance in place. Talk to the right people and do it right from the beginning. From our GE is to keep staying consistent. Knowledge is key. Do what you know how to do best and keep at it. Like I said, tough times don't last. Only tough people do. And from me, your humble moderator today, I want to say to you that focus is good. However, it's critical that you be flexible even as you are focused, so that as things come around, you can maneuver, bend, and adapt to the changes and big things that you need to do to get your business to continue to move. Thank you so very much for being a part of this webinar today. A big thank you to my panelists. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mrs. Agboti. Thank you, Mr. Olumide. Thank you, Mr. Wolabi. Thank you for your time. We're super delighted to have you. I'm sure my participants have they've had a great time today of knowledge sharing and insights for their business. Thank you, and it's bye for us from now. Bye-bye, and see you some other time. Bye.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two First Bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first, FirstBank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two First Bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?